Lao Tzu once said that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And in this series, Nagash, the ever-patient god of undeath, is going to take that first step. We celebrate the forces of order opening up the gates of Azir and reclaiming the realm gates around them, and things are great, cities are being built, yay! But they aren't the only ones under the heel of chaos. And we are about to explore what happens when someone else takes that step on their own. But this time, it's led by like a megalomaniac bent on killing everybody. How do we feel about that? It's the same path, it's the same goal, right? To take back the realms from the grip of chaos. And the combined armies of death, like I said, are taking that first step. Today we're going to start a series tearing apart the Wrath of the Everchosen, a new campaign and supplement book that picks up the events of the Soul Wars, this current narrative arc in the greater story of Age of Sigmar. Now, it's actually been a hot minute since the greater story arc has progressed anywhere, the last real edition coming out about 6 to 7 months ago in Forbidden Power. And if you want the details on that, I will leave the links in the description below for the Siege of Lethis. I'm going to give you a brief refresher, but really if you want to understand, how we got to this point, go watch that video. I'm also going to leave links for the Ossiarch Bonereaper lore series and the Slaves to Darkness series, both, because this episode is really about setting up the stage for these events. As a quick refresher, the Necroquake shook up every part of the mortal realms, and unknown up till this time were massive repositories of weapons and artifacts called storm vaults all over the realm. Sigmar set these up in the days of the Age of Myth, and put stuff in there that he didn't want anyone else to know about. Weapons, artifacts, spell lores, and things that he just couldn't kill, even as a god. And one of those things he couldn't kill was the soul of a man named Orphan Catacros, one of Nagash's favored generals. This soul is trapped in the Storm Vault beneath Lethis, and Lady Olander freed him during that kind of epic struggle. Catacros was instated as the head of the Ossiarch Bonereapers, who are Nagash's endgame for the realms. And though it may take millennia, all will fall to the crushing might of the Mortarch of the Necropolis, Catacros. Now soon after this, he was given a new body and the new army. Catacros was given a mission from Nagash of massive importance. Take back the Allgate that leads to the 8 points. And if you're just hopping in, go see the video I put up yesterday with a full explanation of its importance. Eventually, Nagash wants to conquer the 8 points, the realm of Archaon himself, but reclaiming this doorway is the first step to doing that. So he puts his best military mind to the task. Now, the Necroquake had rocked the 8 points in a really bad way. I mean, of course, it makes sense. They're literally on the doorstep of Shyish, with the end gate right there, the realm gate connecting Shyish to the 8 points. It's right there. Towers went down, defenses were toppled, and chaos forces just scrambled. But not much in the way of lasting damage, right? It didn't throw away the entire yoke of chaos from this place. And Catacros was really smart in his approach. He knew that he could look at the fortification on this side, meaning Shyish, this side of the realm gate, and take it down. But he knew better than to rush headlong into the realm gate and just kind of go into the 8 points and see what happens. That's not how he works. You'd be walking in blind, and it only made sense for Archaon to have built something on the other side just in case. While the Ossiarch Bonereapers are mighty and capable of siege warfare, there are better and smarter ways to get in there, rather than wasting precious resources and bodies by throwing them against a wall. And so he contacted his sister Mortarch, Lady Olander, Mortarch of Grief, and the two set to a plan. Now here we're going to take the camera off of these two for a moment, and we're going to go to the 8 points and see what's happening on the other side of the gate. Perspectives shift a few times in this story, and it's fantastic. It lets us see what's going on at all times. We're now over in the 8 points. At the time all of this is going down, Archaon is away on a mission of massive significance, which we're going to address later in this series when he kind of shows up on the scene. He took a colossal army with him, hosts from each Chaos God, members of every circle of his Varangard, all the best stuff he could muster. Like I said, what he's doing right now is big. And while away, he left the Chaos Lord, Naaman Sascarid, in charge of the defenses of the Eightpoints. Sascarid was a feared warrior, and it was rumored that he was kind of next on the short list to become a Varengard, so he has a lot of clout, a lot of might behind him. And to aid him and act as his vizier, right, kind of a counsel, someone who can see things and kind of give wisdom, there's also a gaunt summoner named only the Tongueless Lord. He resides in his silver tower floating next to the Varenspire. If you haven't learned anything about the silver towers, we didn't really cover them in any specific videos, but these are massive floating repositories of arcane knowledge and forbidden magic. Well, Tongueless is the first to sense something is wrong. Death magic is growing strongly in the direction of the Endgate, and it's so intense, right? This blackness of death magic is so intense it's suffocating. He can't use his magics to see what's going on, and immediately understands the importance of this. Says something is going down, and he sends like a dispatch to Sascarid saying, "Get over here now." Now, the urgency of this is like fully received, right? The Eightpoints are presumed to be under an attack. Sascarid does two things simultaneously. He orders his sorcerers to burn the symbol of the Everchosen in the sky. Think of this as like an epic alarm going off for the entire continent-wide kingdom that is the Eightpoints. Every Chaos Warrior, tribe, army, warband, mid-fight stops, looks up, and sees the symbol. There is a call to chaos, to battle, and to the glory of the Everchosen. So everyone stops what they're doing and just starts running towards the Endgate. So now this war machine is trying to mobilize a little bit, and the second thing he does is he mounts his carriage rack, gathers his Chaos Knights, and rides at full speed from the Varenspire, which is, he was in charge of leading the place. He was at the Citadel around the Varenspire, to the Endgate. And it does take a little bit of time to get there, and so we're going to zoom out, and now we're going to look over the shoulders of the Chaos forces surrounding the 8-point side of the Endgates, known as the Fortress Karhite. Marauders and warriors are manning the walls, inspecting the weapons and the buttresses and all this kind of stuff, when the light of the sky grows dim. And not just dark like it's sunset, but like faintly purple. Then the Endgate right in front of them begins to flicker, and a silvery light reveals some Chaos Warriors coming through. And this is not super strange, right? All these people know there's a Chaos fort on the other side, a Chaos base called Gothazar located in Shyish. But the question becomes, why are they walking to the 8-points instead of manning their posts? What's going on? So everyone kind of gives it a kind of inquisitive look at this point. And as the newly arrived Chaos Warriors come into view, it's clear that something isn't right about them. They're walking strangely, they carry no weapons, and they seem listless. It becomes clear over time that these are zombies, raised by the necromantic energies of Shyish. Now at first, this isn't a big deal, right? These two fortresses have guarded the gates to Shyish for some time. Everyone understands how to fight the undead. They've all seen this before. And honestly, the defenses of Karhite take it just fine, right? There's a few trenches where lava flows, and a bunch of the zombies just fall and just burst into flames, and some of the men are even laughing at this. But this trickle of, undead Chaos Warriors begins to grow into a stream, representing hundreds of their dead kin, and a hush falls over the defenders. Nobody's laughing anymore. This wasn't a few random zombies that, the guards were playing with and slipped in through the gate or anything like that. It slowly began to dawn on all these defenders that something has gone terribly wrong in Gothazar. Whatever did this is now inching its way through the Endgate, and not only was it so devastating as to wipe out and then resurrect all the defenders in Gothazar, but they did it so brutally quick that no one could send word through the Endgate. The zombies continue their flood, and yes, many fall along the way. However, the mass of them reaches the iron gates of Karhart and begins scraping at its walls. And they feel this short-lived sense of security, and then it gets snuffed out very quickly, because the silver flicker of the Endgate erupts into emerald brilliance. A torrent of night haunt that the realms have never seen spills out of the gate. Like the breaking of a dam, thousands upon thousands of souls with hatred for the living descend on Karhite. This is the first move in an incredible back and forth struggle for the endgate, because the Nighthaunt, unlike the zombies, don't care about walls. They don't care about defenses. They fly right over them or through them, hacking and slashing the defenders inside. The book says there's so many Nighthaunt here in such a small place that the light they exude, that kind of, like I said, emerald glow, can be seen for miles. So you gotta remember, there's armies all over the place and warbands being led to the endgates, and all of a sudden they just see this emerald glow coming from the horizon. It's obviously the target. At this point, the defenses are beginning to crumble, and the tide of Nighthaunt isn't letting up one bit. At that moment, in the sky, the silver tower of Tongueless Lord blinks into reality, and on the ground, Lord Sasquatch reaches Karhite in aid to the defense. The defenders are pushed back from their walls and huddle together in the courtyard, which makes sense, right? Because you all want to stay together and try to outlast your opponent, but it means that the charge of Sasquatch cannot reach them. That is until the Tongueless Lord shoots down a bolt of arcane power that melts one of the walls into liquid, and now Sasquatch has a clear path to his enemy. And honestly, there's a lot of back and forth. I want you guys to read it for yourself. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And the kind of back and forth, the ebb and flow of warfare is kind of hard to summarize, but at this point, the Tzeentch demons from the Silver Tower and the charge of Sasquatch are fighting off the brunt of the Nighthaunt wave. But the tide of undead still has not lessened. And while he's hacking and slashing through all these ghosts, Sasquatch took a moment to look back, and he sees a flood of chaos reinforcements. Every warband in the region headed this way. They actually make special note of many of the warbands from Warcry showing up, iron golems and that kind of thing, just coming in and wrecking face. Again, they have a continent-wide emergency alarm, and everybody responded to it. And so at this point, Sasquatch's feeling great. The blow was harsh, but this is a manageable thing, right? We can always get more guys to man the walls. They haven't done lasting damage. But what he didn't understand in that moment is that this unending tide of chain rafts and bladegeist and stuff is just the first wave. The vanguard meant to shock and disorient. And the real weight of the Nighthaunt army is about to step in. 3 black coaches barrel through the endgate. These are massive engines of death that crash into any pocket of resistance the Chaos forces can muster. And I can't articulate it for you without reading the book verbatim, but they describe these things in the most awesome way possible. And soon after them, Lady Olinder herself walks in, exuding this aura of despair to anyone nearby. Many of the Chaos defenders just fall to the ground and give up. The tide of the battle once again turns in the favor of the Nighthaunt. Air supremacy with the Tzeentch demons, they were making good progress on, that was just taken away. The skies now belonged to the dead. The stream of Chain Rasp Horde and Mirmorn Banshees just will not let up, and the back of the Chaos force is utterly broken. Now at this moment, the 2 Chaos leaders that we followed thus far, Sasquatch and the Tongueless Lord, have a hard decision to make. Do we die fighting, or do we retreat for now and face the judgment and wrath of Archaon when he returns? Because he will certainly punish one of them for their failure. The Tongueless Lord went back to his silver tower and retreated. With a flash, the entire tower that was hovering in the sky, unleashing magic and all that stuff, disappears. Which now, of course, compounds the problems facing Lord Sasquatch, who chooses to die in battle. We get to see both of these options, and at this point, he knows Archaon will hold him responsible. He's a dead man either way. So looking upon the battlefield, he spots Lady Olinder. Promising that he will not sell his life for any less, he charges in, his Karkadrak sprinting into action. Lady Olinder sees him coming at her and simply raises a hand, and in real time, Lord Sasquatch begins to age. Now, we've seen the last time someone tried to just bull rush Lady Olinder, it was the Celestant Prime. It didn't end well for him, so just a little spoiler alert there for you. Sasquatch keeps moving in, his mount begins to erode away, and about 12 paces away from his target, gives out. The Chaos Lord is bucked from the back of his dead mount and tossed into the air, and he's shaken up, and when he comes to, Lady Olinder is hovering above him, staring down. Slowly she raises her veil, revealing her face, and Sasquatch knew what absolute terror was right before his heart exploded in his chest. And at this point, it turns from a battle to just a slaughter, right? The fast-moving Nighthaunt are able to track down any who try to run and kill them quickly. Pockets of resistance are just crushed. And now the immediate area outside of the end gate is this big barren wasteland, and Lady Olander moves quickly to secure it. This brutal act of war is the opening, steps to Catacross's grand plan, a generations-long war against the forces of chaos, and it all starts here. We can surmise that it was Catacross who was able to smash the defenses of Galthazar, right, allowing the Nighthaunt easy entry. And this is kind of his opening act to conquest of the 8 points. And I want to end here for a little bit and pick back up in our next episode. But with all of these, I always like to tear these stories apart and ask, why is this so cool? Well, I think this story does a fantastic job of setting the scene. Within the 8 points, I liked Sascarid and Tongueless, who we're going to see again. They felt meaningful in their offices, but the reality of war is that they're going to die, right? I mean, they're not major characters to the plot. They're probably going to die, but the scenes that had them were meaningful and very cool. But the real winner from this, by far, was the Nighthaunt. If you are a Nighthaunt player, the description of the assault on Karhite was one of the coolest things I've read with them in it. And this includes the Soul Wars book by Josh Reynolds, who has the assault on the city, that kind of stuff. The masses of ghosts, the battle in the sky with Tzeentch Demon, particularly the black coaches busting in like they're playing a game of Twisted Metal, just crushing any pocket of resistance they get. And Lady Olander, just as always, is scene stealing, right? She's on there and she is just the total presence of the events going down. I like the idea of an entire continent-sized realm that is the 8 points having an epic alert, right? It's kind of like the bat signal goes up in the sky and everyone just frenzies to follow orders. That moment where the Warcry warbands show up actually really surprised me, and it was really fun to read. It was maybe a paragraph long, maybe, but it was kind of fun. All in all, this is a really cool first battle that fits perfectly into Catacross's plans, and he hasn't even stepped foot into the 8 points yet. And that's massive, because he orchestrated a first assault on Archaon's home, won it, and hasn't even been there yet. There's a lot more cool stuff to come up in this series, and I hope that you will join me for it. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm sorry there's limited art. This series doesn't really focus on, more than a handful of characters, so this week you're just going to see a lot of Ossiarch, Bonereaper, Nighthaunt, and Chaos artwork. And if you're listening to this in podcast form, let me know if you like this setup you can let me know your responses via 2+ Stuff on Facebook or Instagram, and the links down below. And you can find my RSS feed in the show notes. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this section of the story and what part of it was your favorite. And I'll see you all in my next episode.